Okay, now there's two ways to do this. I'm going to show you guys the way with the formula, okay? Even though I probably wouldn't do a problem like this with the formula every single time. But we just learned it, so let's try it. Okay, so it says calculate g prime of x, where g is the inverse. So we have to know what g is. G is the inverse of this guy right here on the domain of blah, blah, blah. Now, it has to say this in order for the inverse to exist. And so let's first take our formula. So if we wanted to find g prime of x, we would use our formula, which is 1 over f prime of g of x. So there's two things that we have to find. We have to find the f prime. So this is going to be our first step. We have to find f prime. And then we're going to have to find g. Do we know what g is? That's our second step. And the third step would be to simplify it, okay? But we need those two things so that we could plug them into our formula. So first, let's find our f prime. To find our f prime, we take this guy and take the derivative of him. So we have f prime of x equals, we drop the 4, subtract 1 from the 4, so we get 4x to the third. All right, so we got our f prime, no problem. Now how are we going to find the inverse function? Well, this is when you have to go back to algebra. And we have to go, let's see, we'll say y equals x to the fourth plus 10. Now, you don't have to switch. You just, solve for x. But if you like seeing it switch, go for it. I'm going to go ahead and do it because I have a feeling that you guys like seeing that. So we're just switching those up because now we're going to have a function of y. Well, technically, since we switch it, it's going to be a function of x. But anyway, so now if we were to solve for y, we're going to subtract 10 from both sides. So we have x minus 10. And then how would we get rid of that 4? The fourth root. Now, you can say fourth root, or you can say raised to the fourth power. I like saying raised to the fourth power right now, especially because we're working on derivatives. And whenever we do a derivative, we like to see the power instead of the radical sign. So this is my y, which means we have our g of x, because that's the inverse function. So we can write in x minus 10 raised to the 1/4. All right, so now we have our f function, our f prime function, and we have our g function. Now we can plug those into our formula and simplify. Okay, here we go. Back up to our formula. We have 1 over. Now we're going to take the g function and plug it into this. So we have 4 times something raised to the third power. And that something is our g function. So we got to put x minus 10 raised to the fourth. Okay. Now, using the laws of exponents, you know that you go 4 times 1 over 4. So you get 4 times x minus 10 raised to the 3 over 4. And that is your answer. Now, this is our answer right here. But if you guys were to look over here at the inverse function, actually look right here at g. Could you, if you were asked to take the derivative of g, could you do it right here? Yeah, you could. You would just drop this 1 over 4, right? Then take 1 away from that? Wouldn't you get the same thing? You would. So, Mr. Patey, tell me why I would use this stupid formula. Honestly, if I had a problem like this, I probably wouldn't. I would just use a chain rule. But if I had a problem like this, you would have to do it. Because look at f of x here. Can you find the inverse function of this? We could try, but it's not going to work.